You are watching and listening to Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and your favourite podcasts.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on, you foxes!
Of the net.
It's the Europa League with Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. Please press those buttons on YouTube for more Leicester City content.
Right, Chris.
Good evening, fellow Fox fans. How the devil are you? Welcome along. Different time, different intro, same old ugly me, I'm afraid. How are you all doing? First of all, I would like to say apologies for this being at 9:30 rather than 7. A bit of a cock up on my side because I was on the LCFC chat earlier when we had a couple of players that were on, and I thought that went from 9 till sort of 10:30, and it didn't. It went from sort of 7:30. So I had to jiggle a few things around, and then we had a little bit of a crisis with presenters. So we got a bit of a different nut behind the wheel tonight, as you will see very, very soon. Thanks a lot for coming along, and thanks a lot for watching. And if you are watching, remember you can catch us on Facebook, Leicester Till I Die, the group, Twitter at Leicester TID. And if you are watching on YouTube, and if you're not, please get over there, sub to the channel. It really, really does help, and smash those likes buttons because that helps as well. And if you're listening to this on catch up, you're more than welcome, and I don't blame you. Definitely got a face for radio. You can catch us, Leicester Till I Die TV, on all the major podcasts: Google, Amazon, Apple, iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, and Podcast Addict. It's not easy for me to say that, to name just 6. I've only got 6 named because that's all I could fit on the screen. And don't forget, if you missed it last night, great show, on the pitch. Do you see what I did with that? Do you see where I got that from? So pleased with myself for doing that. You might be able to tell. Talking football with ex-City player, ex-defender Julian Watson. It was he that set up the famous shinner that Claridge scored against Palace. Every Tuesday, 9 o'clock, if we can get him out of the 19th hole, that is. And last night, the topics were Leicester's start to the Premier League season, VAR decisions, and who should be behind the cameras, something Julian himself said he'd love to do, and I think we should always have ex-players there. The Lazio game, and some Burnley player that basically cheated, can't remember his name, best forgotten. So welcome along. Also, I would like to say, and I'm going to start this before I bring my colleague in this evening. We got fined today. Leicester and Napoli fined for crowd trouble. Now, I don't know if this is because we are the home team or not, but we got fined. And I know it's not an awful lot of money in the big scheme of things. It's probably loose change that falls out of James Maddison's hole in his jeans, to be honest with you. But we got fined £17,200. Napoli got fined £8,600. Now, they were the basic fines. Why are we over double what they got? Because were their fans not involved as well? I believe their fans may well have started it, and obviously outside the stadium as well, or that's not UEFA's control. But why have we got double the fine that Napoli, that Lazio, Napoli had. I'll get there in the end. They also got fined another £4,300 that they've got to pay the club for the damage that was caused by the Napoli fans to the stadium. But, all I'll say is that those that got involved as Leicester City fans, thanks a lot. You've just got us fined. Maybe you should have a collection, because I am sure they can highlight who they are. And talking about highlighting and putting people on camera, hide the children. It's Craig. Good evening, Craig. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. I'm just a little bit concerned. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Chris.
Well, no, I always used to hide behind the sofa when I was watching Doctor Who. And the Cybermen on the Daleks used to come on. Nothing more than that. Nothing more than that. Right. Thank you so much for jumping on tonight, because I want to say a get well soon to Jason. He's only been with us a couple of days and he's ended up in hospital. Maybe it's the curse of Leicester till I die. He has got COVID and he's got some associated problems that has caused. So all our thoughts go out to Jason. If you are watching, bud, get well soon.
Yeah, get well soon, Jason.
Right. What do you think about those fines? I mean, is that fair?
Well, it doesn't seem fair, does it? On the just looking at the figures, I mean, it's not surprising that we got fined. We know how UEFA work. Would have probably got fined if we'd have been doing homophobic or racist chanting, to be honest. But because it's more visible, then we get fined. Yeah. I didn't realise that the figure that they've got to pay to us had already come out. I read that they had to contact the club and agree on a payment. So I guess that's happened already. But no, I guess UEFA always have to be seen to be doing something. But as I say, as we briefly mentioned off air, I think those who decided to try and ruin the fabric of English football with the Super League have got off scot-free. But, that's a whole different matter, isn't it? Yeah.
Well, maybe if we, we could call ourselves Manchester Rovers and maybe we would get away with a little bit more.
Yeah.
And that's not a dig at Manchester, because I was a Manchester fan in, so it's not a dig at Manchester at all. It's just a fact of life. Rob, good evening, sir. How the devil are you? Kelechi Maywell bumping to Riyadh. Is he still at that airport? Charlie's asking what's going on with Inacho. We will come on to that in a bit. Rich, the aforementioned Man United fan, big up Chris and Charlie. I think he's referring to Charlie Hibbert, Craig, not you, although Craig has been called a lot worse, of course. Yeah. And Rob's made the point here. I expect that as the home team, it's your responsibility for crowd control.
I would imagine, Rob, you're probably correct there. They probably have some formula. They'll work out what the away team are going to get fined and double it, or fine us and then halve it for them. Yeah. I would imagine there's somebody's got a very well-paid job in UEFA to work out that equation.
It's very interesting that that they actually got fined for the damage, the Napoli fans. I haven't ever heard of that before, but quite right, because obviously there are repair costs involved.
Exactly. I'm not sure what they did. All I saw was people taking off their belts to hit people with it. I would imagine, looking at a lot of our fans, if we tried to retaliate in the same way, there would have been a lot of people falling down with trousers around their ankles, to be honest.
Oh, there's a thought. And if I do laugh, there's like I say, I was in a chat with Steve, just name dropping here, in a chat before, which is why I'm late, with Steve Walsh and Matt Elliott and Dan from Leicester City FC Radio, and we were supposed to be interviewing Inacho, which of course we couldn't because he wasn't there, and Ademola Lookman. Kieran Dyer, great guy, stood in and came on and answered a few questions. But Steve was telling a story about John Robertson when he came down for the evening meal on an away trip, and he stood at the counter with two plates because he was hungry, and apparently Gary Parker ran up behind him. He was wearing like a t-shirt and shorts and pulled his shorts down from behind. Unfortunately, he had nothing on underneath. But, these players,
There were the days.
Those were the days. These days, we're all over social media. John Robertson's butt cheeks. Mac,
It would have its own Twitter account.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. Well, apparently he just did it for the crack. Anyway, bum bum, as they say. Should we move on? I reckon we should play Ward in some European League games because I think he has the quality. I couldn't agree with you more, but I think Ward will be used. Do you not, Craig, in the FA and the Caribou?
I think probably the domestic cups is where Ward's going to get his chances, but mainly because I think Brendan will be going into this game looking to keep it fairly tight, to be honest. So any disruption around that back four probably wouldn't be a good thing in a league format. Yeah.
Well, it's tomorrow night. Let's just get the details up for everybody here. It's in Warsaw at the beautifully sound Polish Army Stadium. I mean, by God, that makes you want to go there and watch it, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think it'll be well patrolled.
Yeah, well, you would, yes, yeah. 5:45 kickoff, guys. Don't forget BT Sport and on the radio, lcfc.com/radio and BBC Radio Leicester. It's going to be a difficult one because we're not in the position we could have been, and I think had we held on to the win at Napoli, Brendan would kind of treat this as differently. But if Legia Warsaw beat us tomorrow night, 6 points, top of the league.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, this, isn't it? And you don't know. I think Brendan's overriding philosophy here will be to not get beaten. Yeah. And then fancy his chances of winning the remaining home games. And I think if we can do that, if we can beat the two remaining teams that we've got away, Napoli away is going to be obviously a different kettle of fish. But I think if we can beat the two remaining teams at home, and take points off them away, that should give us enough. But you never know. You take Napoli. I think you have to take Napoli out and say they're a bit of a cut above the rest of us in this group at the moment. The way we're playing, we're probably on a level playing field with the other two. I don't think either of them have started their seasons particularly well either.
No.
So I think the worst case scenario obviously is a loss, but I think Brendan wouldn't be too disappointed in a draw, but you've got to go out and try and get the win to put yourself up there and give the guys confidence.
Yeah, and I'm just looking at this, and Johnny Evans doesn't make tomorrow's squad. But he's back for the World Cup qualifiers. I just sometimes don't get this, I really don't.
Yeah, I've got no, because I thought, to be honest, I thought he would play him in this game, because he didn't play him at the weekend. I thought he would go there with a bit of an more experienced team who knew what they were doing and try, as I say, just keep it tight and then try and impose themselves on the game later on as it went on. So the fact that he's been named in the Northern Ireland squad, but he's not fit to travel is a little bit confusing, to say the least. It'd be nice if they actually came out and gave some explanation.
This, I mean, they're saying like October, but it's actually next week, I think, when the international break is,
Yeah.
Let's look at the team that we're not taking. Like you say, Johnny Evans has not travelled as he struggles to shake off an ongoing foot problem. Wilfred Ndidi, of course, is banned. But Kelechi Iheanacho, and this kind of, for those of us of a certain generation, this kind of sums Leicester up, doesn't it, really? That his paperwork wasn't correct.
Right, okay. So I've not read this, to be honest. So he's not travelling either.
So basically, yeah, Fox's striker Kelechi Iheanacho has been ruled out of the trip because of paperwork problems. So he's not there because obviously he didn't do the show tonight because I had a question already for him and he didn't turn up. The Nigerian forward was reportedly turned away by Polish border control, with Rogers saying his documentation coming into the country wasn't sufficient, and added that the Foxes would investigate the issue upon their return to the UK. It's going to be a big loss. Is this a case of the Polish knowing what they're doing?
Well, I don't know. I mean, you'd have thought if they could pull that one, they might have pulled it on Vardy and a few of the others as well.
Yeah.
It does seem strange, to be honest, because, I mean, Kelechi's been travelling with the Nigerian squad, to my understanding. That does seem strange, unless he hasn't got documentation about his vaccination. Whether Poland are not letting people in who have not been vaccinated, and he's one of those who's chosen not to be. I'm not sure. It could be that there are other issues, and they're trying to keep a hush on it.
Yeah. Anthony, an Arsenal fan's got probably more faith than we have. He's going for a 2-0 Leicester win, sorry. JB, good evening, JB. How the devil are you? Must win tomorrow night. Critical game for confidence. JB, he's out as he's unwell. He didn't say his foot is keeping him out. I'm just reading there what Rodgers has said in his press conference. So I don't know, JB. I'm not saying that you're not wrong, but I'm presuming Rodgers knows what he's saying, and that's what Rodgers said. Rob, good evening again. I think Evans' injury could be career-ending long-term. I think we've seen the end of him as a regular, haven't we?
Yeah, I think we said last week sometime on one of the shows that I don't think you'll be seeing Evans play probably more than 2 games in a row. I think they will try and manage it, but I agree. I think because it doesn't sound like it's an injury that can almost be fixed. If it's a heel injury, a heel problem, it's not like a muscular thing or a break or something. It's probably just something that's almost like a wear and tear issue and has to be just managed through games. So I think the days of him playing another 30, 40 games a season are probably long gone.
But he's great to come on maybe, for the last 15 minutes, as we used to, of course, with Big Wes.
I mean, it could be. I mean, just to shore up the defence. It could be that injury's come from him just standing with his foot on the ball for too long during games. I don't know. It'd be interesting to know which foot it is that's giving him the problems. But you're right. Yeah, just to come on and shore up a victory. It'd be nice for us to actually get a couple of goals up in a game that we can actually bring him on.
Oh, you can't let it go, can you? Not unlike Johnny Evans with his foot on the ball. JB says, get Tarkowski in ASAP in January or not, or next summer on a free. I think we might have missed the boat with Tarkowski, to be honest with you. I think we should have gone for him when we got Vestergaard in, so I don't know whether the money will be there or not. But I like Tarkowski, and I think he would have been a better option. But, Vestergaard, he's only played a couple of games, really, when you think about it, hasn't he, Craig? So he's still kind of bedding in.
True, yeah. I mean, we are going over to the Eastern European, so maybe we can come back with Tchaikovsky. But you're right. I think...
what I love about when you come on the show is that you make me look funny.
I've not had time. I'm a late stand-in. I've not had time to work on my material, Chris. That's what I'm going to blame it on.
I do like that one.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Vestergaard was really disappointing for me the other day. 6'7" or whatever he is, and didn't use his physicality at all. And he is bedding in a little bit, but I guess, we haven't got a lot of choice, have we? And so I think he's going to have to play his way through it, to be fair.
Yeah. Brad, good evening, Brad. How are you, Jesus? I've heard it was something to do with the PCR test. Well, let's just hope that we don't have to rely on Inacho if we ever get drawn away in Macedonia, North Macedonia, that is, of course. Is there any other Macedonia? I don't know. Rob says hopefully Daka will get a game then. Would love to see him play. And Terry, how's the dog, Terry? How are you? It's safe to watch because Brad's not on with his cuckoo clock. So hope the dog is behaving for you. Not saying they had a weak team, but they called up Wasilewski. We could do with him now. Let's go back a couple of weeks. It could have been worse for us. I mean, certainly when you look at Spartak Moscow, I mean, Legia Warsaw were actually the fourth team. They were in the bottom pot for our group, and yet there they are topping it. And we'll come on to their performances at the moment. But, you know, to go away and win at Spartak Moscow is no mean feat. And with Leicester Napoli, I mean, 2-0 up, and you're thinking, like, unbelievable. This is Napoli, and we are here, and 2 goals up. But we'd have taken that at the start, wouldn't we?
I think we would. And I think if you look at that game as a whole, they had some very good chances in the first half of that game that they didn't take through a combination of good defending and bad finishing. It's a shame that they couldn't keep that level of finishing up during the second half as well. But I think we would have taken a 2-2 draw. I think it was an encouraging performance. I think although we gave up chances, I think we created chances as well. So I'm just hoping that tomorrow Brendan doesn't go too defensive. He's talking about that's his area of concern, the fact that and it wasn't necessarily, the thing I read, it wasn't necessarily the number of goals we're conceding. It was the number of shots we're conceding that he seemed to have an issue with, which seems to me, sounds like he may go, he may possibly go with a back 5 just to try and shore it up, particularly with Ndidi not being there as well. So obviously that weakens us. So I think it will be one of those almost like a rear guard action, old-fashioned Leicester catch them on the break.
Yeah. Terry says here, according to those that know, keep your sources close to you, Terry. The Polish League is at our championship level. I couldn't even pronounce. You're going to be impressed that I could spell it in a minute, but yeah, I couldn't even pronounce the title of their league. I mean, like I say, and we're only one game in. Spartak probably can't believe that. Legia probably can't believe the luck. They're sat at the top there, 3-0. We've got to remember, Napoli only missed out on the Champions League by 1 point on the last day of the season. Does that sound familiar, Craig?
It does sound familiar, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so they could have been, and they have been a Champions League side. And all right, they're not, they're the same as us, but we have got a hard group. And after a couple of easy groups in the Champions League and Europa, we probably deserved it. But it's not. I don't know. I sort of had mixed thoughts after the Napoli game because, like I say, had you given me that point at the start, I would have grabbed you, taking your hand off. I think the problem is it's going to be the away fixtures like Warsaw. It's not, they're not the nicest of places to go to. Spartak Moscow, coming up, to the Christmas, it's not the nicest place to go to. No. And we end with a trip away to Napoli. That couldn't be worse, could it?
No. Your only hope really is that there's nothing really riding on that game, that we need a result, or maybe ideally we both need a point, because I wouldn't put it past the Italians to make that work. But you're right. I mean, we pointed this out very early on when the draw was made, that the away games are tough places to go. They wouldn't have been as tough last season when there was no fans in, but all 3 of these fixtures are going to be full with partisan crowds. And I think we're going to learn a lot about our team this season from the Europa League, particularly the away games of where we're at, because being a higher end Premier League team isn't just about your ability. It's all about your mindset as well, and whether you can cope with big games and being put into these kind of situations and arenas where it's very partisan. So it's a learning curve, I think, this season, more so than last season it was.
One of the questions that came up, because I say we had Walshy and Matt Elliott in the chat before because the players were still eating the meals and then they had to go off to bed. It's really strange that grown men want to go. We've been told we're going to go to bed. But we're talking to Walshy and Matt about experience, and it says a lot of these players, not all of them, but a lot of these players have been there, seen it and done it. You've still got a couple of Champions League players left in there, certainly in the squad, and you've got certainly a lot of the squad that were in the Europa League last season. So it's not that they're totally unprepared. Like you say, I know last season there wasn't fans in and what have you, but I say they have got that bit of experience under the belts.
Yeah, they have, and the likes of Daka and Samori have played European football. You're going now. They're going there with a new team, with new teammates. Hi, Scott. So it's how they work as that collective, and in games like this, though, more so even than the Premier League, and it's a little area of concern. Is that something that we've thrown up before? Is how many leaders we have on the pitch. So when you're in that sort of cauldron, you need somebody there to be the driving force, to be making sure that you're concentrating, that you're doing the job. I'm not sure how many leaders we have on there. I feel Tielemans is a leader. The other players, their experience will have come, majority of them will have come from international football rather than club football, or for a lot of our players. So I think he'll be relying on experience, and not just age experience, but also European experience. So it'll be interesting to see the team he puts out.
So I'm just giggling because we were talking after the show the other night about your light, and it keeps going up.
It's like it's like a light show or something. I can move my hands and the lights will change.
I'm going to say, have you got one of those lights that comes on if you move?
Yeah.
But
like a lava lamp. That's what it is.
Oh, we all remember the lava lamps. I'm a 70s lad. Apparently, Terry's just said Ronaldo. I think it means Ronaldo has just scored 5 minutes into extra time. Good. I wanted Man United to win. I hate Villarreal. I only wish they managed to break a few legs, which I doubt they did. But if Man United could have broken a couple of legs as well as beating them, my evening would be complete. Did I say that out loud? I hate Villarreal now. I really do. Let's have a look at the form. And Legia Warsaw's form, and you might not be able to actually see that very well. So
I'll put my monocle on
because I'm struggling to see it. Not going to lie, it doesn't look too bad on there. I mean, they've got they beat. Well, they lost to Rakow, which I don't, don't ask me, and that's the only one I'm going to attempt to pronounce. They beat Wrigley Suwaki. They also beat Gornik Lexner.
Everybody, just sit back and enjoy listening to Chris try and pronounce these.
But they did lose to Wisla Krakow. Yeah, I know Krakow, and I can't see the bottom one because I've got Terry's comment covering it. Let me just try and where are we? Here we go. We're slowly. My computer's being a bit slow, but yeah, they've not been on top form, which I suppose is something. And when you look at the league and where we are league wise, and where they are league wise, and you look at the table here for the Ekstraklasa league table, they're actually fourth from bottom, one place above the relegation zone. Played 7, got 9 points. So they are really struggling.
They are. I mean, look at the goal difference as well. So 9-9. so they're scoring, but they're letting in as well. So
yeah,
again, it could be. I think it's going to be a game of attrition from I fully expect, in most European games, I fully expect that they're going to come at us from the off. The crowd will be up, so we should be expecting a strong start from them. And I think it's, what they talk about every away game, isn't it? That you want to quieten the crowd down. Obviously, the best way to do that is to get an early goal, but wouldn't that be lovely?
Not unlike Burnley did against us at the weekend.
Exactly. So, I think it will be a bit of a game of attrition. But, I would suggest that, if we're still in the game, and these are no European giants, let's not, big them up bigger than they are. They've played a lot of European football down the years, but they're not one of the names that would normally strike fear into you, to be fair. But I would suggest that, Brendan's game plan is going to be that you're still in the game with 20, 25 minutes to go, and then you look to go on and win it.
Yes. That's JB's lineup. We're going to come to a lineup in a moment ourselves and see if we can pick it out. Scott, Brendan must think Perez is a leader on the pitch. Rob says, don't get your forehead too far forward then. I'm kind of lost on that one, Rob. So I've missed something, obviously. Hi, David. How the devil are you, sir? Welcome along. Good evening, Chris and Craig. We may have leaders, Casper Yuri, but honestly, we don't often see a lot of anger or encouragement, etc. Only just a lot of hands on heads when we make a mistake. Tell you what, Casper kind of nearly lost it against Burnley, didn't he, with Mr. Cornett when he wouldn't get off the pitch?
He did. He was right in there. I think it was mainly because the other defenders, I think it was Ben Mee and Tarkowski, were up there trying to make out that it was perfectly fine for him to hobble back onto the pitch and sit down. And you knew it wasn't going to be long before Casper got involved.
Yes, yeah. Says, can't see many fans travelling there, COVID hassle and all. I've seen quite a few posts on Facebook of people going, but yeah, I don't think it's going to be great numbers. Scott says here, what I've read and been told is that Legia is like us, very shaky defending, but great attacking threats. I think you've just said that with the 9 goals scored, 9 goals let in, really, haven't you? It's and tomorrow. I say tomorrow. Tomorrow. I'm just seeing. I can't see when they're playing at the moment, but I think they are playing tomorrow night. The same, but for our European ambitions, would you say this is a must-win?
You know what, Chris? I knew you were going to ask that because I think it's getting to the state of the season, the way that we're going, that you ask it about every game. Is it a must-win? No, I think it's a must not lose. I think that's definitely
okay.
Yeah. So what I mean by that is,
yes,
you want to win, but a draw isn't the worst result. As I say, because if you're going head to head, if you draw away with them and then you beat them at home, you should be ahead of them. The same with Spartak Moscow. So I think it's a definitely can't lose rather than a must win. Obviously, a win puts us in a much better position.
I mean, if we can draw all our away games, that's 3 points. It's we've got 1 at home. We've got 6 if we were to beat that, win our other 2 home games. That would be 10 points. Do you think that would be enough to take us through?
Yeah. I'd be surprised if anybody could amass that many, because if they were taking points off others. So I don't think you can get 3 teams going through with 10 points. So I would think that's enough for us.
Yeah. JB, well, he agrees with me. It's a must win, no doubt. Scott is saying definitely must win. And Terry just confirms that they are playing tomorrow. Because the problem is that the games this year are so more important because there was a question that I asked to Steve Walsh, and he said he agreed. It's not like you can do about it because it's in the rules, but it isn't fair because if Napoli win the group, they will play somebody from the Europa League. Now, it could be a West Ham, what we don't know. If we come second, we are going to play somebody that's dropped down from the Champions League.
Yeah.
So we're going to get the tougher game because we've come second. And, it's me. I just don't agree that we should be, you look last season, Man United were nearly Europa League champions, having failed in the Champions League. But because they want to keep the big clubs in it, and if we come third, I believe we drop down into the Conference League, which, again, I suppose if we win it, we win it. But I just don't think it's fair. And, would you prefer to win and, if you know, you win the first two, you're through, but would you prefer to win it and play somebody else in the Europa League or play somebody that's not done very well in the Champions League?
But to be honest, I think you never know which way it's going to go because you get some dodgy results in the Champions League this season. We just saw Sheriff win away at Real Madrid, which may mix that one up. So you would expect you'd be getting one of the lesser teams. Someone like Bruges, I think Bruges had a good away win. Now, in normal seasons, I think you would take somebody like a Bruges, who have come down from the Champions League, over one of the stronger teams that may be winning the groups in the Europa League. So you'll only find out, you'll only be happy once the draw's made. But
yes,
it can go either way. I think at the end of it, you've got to beat who's put in front of you if you want to win it. So and so far, the better teams we've been against, the better our performances have been.
Well, there is that, of course. Yeah, we do seem to struggle against the lesser teams. And as I said, I suppose that's my glass, my glass half empty. My glass half full is the fact that we're in Europe for the second year running.
I think that's it. And I think, I think that European football is something that isn't, it's still relatively new to us. And I know how people can say, yes, it's a must win. I get that. But it is a relatively new experience for us. And I think in a European competition, every time you go away from home and don't get beat, that's a positive result. The win is the bonus on top.
Yeah. I can see where you're coming from with that. And David just pointed out Barcelona, they've just lost 3-0 to Benfica. So we could actually be playing Barcelona in the next round. Bring it on.
Well, like I say, when you look at some of the groups, I think, is it Liverpool and Milan or whatever, and I can't remember who they played, Juventus, or there's some teams where you've got groups
Juventus have just beaten Chelsea 1-0.
Yeah. So there's going to be some big clubs coming down. We know that. And then you get to that point of, do we think we're going to win it? And therefore, yes, we think we've got a really good chance of winning it. So let's get a lesser team. Or do you want to play against one of the giants of European football?
It was pointed out in the chat earlier that you qualify for Europe because you want to play these teams.
Yeah.
And yes, you can say, we did what we did, say, when we were in the Champions League because the draw was very favourable to us. But you do want to play these bigger teams because that's the whole idea of being in. And at the end of the day, they are, cup ties. And we all know what can happen, in cup ties. Terry says here... Oh, sorry,
go on, Chris.
Carry on.
Just a quick one. Yeah. Sometimes we forget what European football is all about because we become obsessed with winning it. That we want it. We're in the Europa League. We want to win it, and therefore every bad result is a thing. Sometimes you just have to enjoy it. Before we won the league, if we were in Europe, that was fantastic, and just being in Europe was great. Even when we won the league, the excitement was all about the draw and who we got. Nobody had realistic ambitions that we were going to win the Champions League. It was about being in European competition. And I think sometimes you can lose the enjoyment of being in European competitions because you're so obsessed with the fact that we've got to win every game that we play in Europe, and otherwise it's a failure. Leicester City are in Europe, you know, that's a success in its own right.
You are totally right. Success breeds expectation, though, doesn't it? Unfortunately,
yeah, of course it does.
You know. But Terry says here the Napoli match is straight after hours, so we'll watch that as well. Well, Terry, I'm a little bit disappointed because I hope you wouldn't be watching that straight after the match, because I'd hope that you were going to be watching this. You know, this show is not thrown together at all. 8:30 tomorrow night-ish, depending on obviously when the game finishes, Terry. Turn BT off, or whichever way you're deciding to watch it, and tune in to the post-match show, and we'll be welcoming Josh back to help me with that. JB says here, we have the quality to win the Europa, though. We never have the quality to win the Champions League. You know what, though? We're joint favourites with Napoli, and I think it's always... I don't know how you can be favourites in a competition where you don't know another 8 teams or so that are going to come down. But talking about not knowing things and talking about players that haven't been able to travel for whatever reason, we're not going to do a... pick our own, and not pick your own, one to watch. We are going to do pick your own. We're not going to do one to watch because it wouldn't be fair on you, because you only just agreed to come on earlier on today. So I wouldn't drop you in on that. Plus, I'm scared, mate, because of whoever you pick always has an amazing game against us. So if we win tomorrow, we're never doing one to watch again. Okay.
Fine.
But so we're going to have a look and see what team we can go for here. What formation did you think he might be going for? The 5-3-2? I think he might go with that. To be honest. Or do you think it'd be a 5-4-1? Yeah, one of those two. I think he'll definitely go with the. I think he'll definitely go with the 5, to be honest, mainly because of Ndidi, and I'm not sure there's we've got players who are sort of Ndidi-esque, but there is no other Ndidi. So I think to just go for a like for like and expect Chowdhury or whoever to do Wolf's job, I think you're hoping a little bit much. So I think he may go for a little more security and go for a 3 centre halves and then wing backs. Are we going to hope that he goes 2 up top, do you think? I would hope so, because I'm going to let you pick here, Craig. Whether you go, let's go 5-3-2. Let's be positive, because if you are thinking that it's going to be tight and you're going to hit them on the break, then you need to have a couple of players up there to hit on the break alongside your wing backs. So. Yeah. Scott says here, theoretically speaking, if we finish second and draw Barcelona in the next round, is that Brendan's time to prove himself as being linked again with the Barca job? Always look on the bright side of life, Scott. I think we know. I don't think any of us are surprised that Brendan has got ambitions at that level. You know, whether it's higher up in the Premier League or it's higher up in Europe. And I think he believes that he's worthy of one of those jobs. But his success is inextricably linked to the success of Leicester. So yes, it is. Yeah. He's not getting those jobs unless he does a good job here. So the pressure is on Brendan to sort it out here. Otherwise, his managerial stock goes down. And, of course, we always know there's no other job like being a football manager where you can be sacked for failure and walk into another job within a week. So that it is weird. But that said, I know when Brendan joined us, I remember saying he's not going to be with us, he's not going to be an Arsene Wenger, and he's not going to be, I don't think, an Alex Ferguson and be with us 20 odd years. Because we are Leicester here. And if he did go on to Barcelona, do you know what I mean? I'd wish him well, but he's got to have a good season, because Barcelona will look at him and they'll go, yeah, okay, he's got Leicester to fifth place, which is good for a team like Leicester. But then if it doesn't work out, he's stalled, and that's what they'll be looking at, because those big clubs will now be looking, like you said, to see if he can take Leicester to that next level,
and particularly in Europe as well, because as we know, his record in Europe isn't great.
No,
so
and of course, it's going to be difficult for him to go any further. I do honestly think with the Premier League, it is becoming more and more every season like the Scottish League. Who's going to be in the top four. It's just going to be which way round. And every now and again, one of them drops out. But so I think it's going to have to be in Europe or a cup again when he does it. Terry's going to prove that he can multitask. We'll check it out tomorrow, Terry.
Well done,
we'll
Terry.
check it out tomorrow. But men and multitasking doesn't go. Oh, hang on. Dorco says here, finishing second means having to play 2 extra playoff games. Do we or do we not? I thought we just, let's say Barcelona come down. I don't think that's a playoff game. I think that's just the next round, isn't it?
Yeah, it may be that because of how many groups, it could be that it's the best 4 or second places automatically go through, and then there's a playoff. It could be that.
Got you. Sorry, Dorco. I mean, there are less teams in the Europa League this year because of the conference, but I guess the way they're doing it, so we'd have to play a playoff to then
potentially
be in that round to them.
True.
Yeah. Oh,
I mean,
God,
it seems unfair, that, to be honest, but.
When did fair ever matter to UEFA? It all depends how much money they're getting in those brown envelopes, doesn't it?
They even got rid of the Fairs Cup, didn't they? Because they didn't like the word fair being used.
This is very true. My God, you're going back a bit there, young man. But yes, I love that. I'll give you that one. If we have a joke of the day, that's the joke of the day. I do like that one. It's going to be Schmeichel in goal, isn't it?
I'd be surprised if it wasn't.
Yes, yeah. Okay, so let's do those back three first of all. And the one in the middle there, I'm thinking probably Vestergaard.
I agree.
Here we go again.
I know, it's scary, isn't it?
It is.
For the game at the weekend, we were only 1 out in the
we were
in the lineup. So
yes. On the right, are we going? I mean, you met, and I'll give you credit for this because I think it was a very good point that you picked up on. Moving Soyuncu over to the right has improved his game this season, because where he was, and I was saying he should be dropped, take him out the firing line, etc., and moving over onto that right, like you say, he's basically had to sort of just do the basics, hasn't he?
Yeah.
And I think that has improved him. So again, I have a feeling we might agree with that one.
No.
You let me do all that speech and you said no.
I can say the thing is, we're sort of second guessing Brendan, and for me, if he's going with a 3, unless he plays one of the fullbacks, for me, the only other person he can put on that right-hand side without playing a fullback as part of the 3 is for Amati to be there and Soyuncu to go back onto the left.
Right. So you are going with Daniel Amati.
Yeah.
And we are going to put Soyuncu there. I mean, this is the funny thing, isn't it? Because it wasn't so long ago we were saying... God, I can remember the Community Shield walking up Wembley Way, just got to the up the hill to the stadium, was walking around the stadium to find my entrance, which was like running a bloody marathon. Jesus Christ, I was going on and on forever. And they announced the team, and Amati was in it, and you could hear the Leicester fans groan. And yet now we're saying, God, we want Amati back in.
Yeah.
It's better than what we got. We are so fickle as football fans, aren't we?
We are. I think the only other option he's got there is to play probably Castagna there and Pereira outside him. But I would rather it be centre halves rather than fullbacks filling in. To be honest.
Yeah. Oh no, it's that. I'm always a great believer, and if you've got a centre half or somebody in a position A that is probably say a 70, and you've got somebody that's in position B that's 100 in B, but the 70 is better probably than the 60 that the B will bring back, if you get what I mean. I had, and in fairness, I'm going to be hands on my heart and own up here. I had actually forgotten about Amati. JB here is saying the first goes to the last 16, second go to the round of 32. Okay, it's beginning to make sense now. Dugout. Hi, Doug. How the? Oh no, is this one Charlie? I get confused with the two dugouts. We Inacho is he hasn't got the right paperwork. We think it's for COVID. Terry thinks we should have a warding goal. What did Schmeichel do? Was he that bad on Saturday?
His distribution was particularly poor. Of the weekend.
Do you not think we get that with Schmeichel, don't we? How long has he been here now? Is it 10 years or something? If not longer.
But the flip side of that is surely he should learn. The thing is with me, it's almost like it's part of his psychological nature that he's stubborn, and he'll stick with it regardless. It is frustrating because he'll slag other players off and give them a right mouthful for messing up. Yet he continues to try and take chances. And we talked about this prior to the Burnley game and said it's not just about, okay, Schmeichel's got someone to pass it to. He needs to be thinking who that guy is also going to pass it to. What's that guy's out ball? And I don't think he does that enough. And I don't think he did it against Burnley. He was playing people into trouble with some bad choices. But
we also
and it's frustrating. I would hope that Brendan at some point is just going to tell him to, just react to the game. And we talk about this as well, this in-game intelligence. React to what's going on. If they're pressing you early, if they're pressing from the front, just don't do it. Dink it in behind them and get them turned.
Yes. I mean, with Schmeichel, when he does kick out, at least 50% of the time it's going to end up in the crowd, But so with that, you're giving the ball away straight away for them to come back at you. And B, I suppose it's a 50-50 chance that on the end of that kick out, it's going to be a Leicester player. It could just as easily be an opposition player. And then they're coming straight back at you again. But Charlie... it is Charlie. Good evening, Charlie. How the devil are you, sir? We did say. It's all moving on there. We did say earlier it is something to do with his paperwork. Now Scott is saying here, Craig, he gets what you're saying about a Martin Suyuncu, but Phil, the better options would be Bertrand on left centre back and a Marty as right centre back. So you wouldn't play Soyuncu at all then, and because he's got Vestergaard as the centre back. I don't think I'd put Bertrand in the centre back role. Would you, Craig? Well, you haven't.
I don't particularly like it. If anybody's going to do it, you would think that with his experience, Bertrand could do it. I'm just thinking there, if you're going to play Bertrand and Luke Thomas, then nobody's getting a rest before the weekend game. So I think he would only go with one of them. And I think it's the same on the other side. I think it's whoever's playing wing back in these games, in this game, probably isn't going to play as full back in the next game.
Yeah. David says, how about Luke Thomas on the left side of back three? Again, he's a winger. He's not a centre-back. And, we're putting people into these positions. We're back to, like we've just said there, round pegs in square holes. And it just, to me, it's just not working.
But this is this is why we all love football, isn't it? Because we all have different opinions, and
yes,
any of them is valid. It's not just our opinion.
David, I'm not saying at all that you are wrong.
No.
I just said for me, it's like putting a square peg in a round hole, whichever way I said it. And that's just my opinion, and I'm not saying my opinion's right, at all. So, people's like you say, well, we could have 10 people here, and we could have 10. I mean, one of the questions earlier was what does Matt and Steve Walsh think of who our best 11 was? And you got 2 ex-pros there. Both of them came up with a different 11. Terry says there, you are a naughty boy, Terry. Don't forget to leave space for love children, Madison and Perez. Terry, I'll set an alarm off so your dog starts going mad. I need to get a bell just for you, don't I? Now, this is going to be interesting here because on this position here of left wing back, I reckon we will disagree here because I'm going to go for Bertrand. But who would you go for?
I think you're right. I think we will disagree. I think it'll be Thomas.
Yes. I knew you were going to go for Thomas. I'm just worried that because we only drew in the first game, and I know he's got experience, Thomas. He scored, for God's sake. I'm just wondering, with the atmosphere that's going to be there, whether we just need Bertrand's experience. Because, again, something that was said earlier, I'm not keep name dropping at all, but they said, we need leaders on the pitch. We haven't got leaders on the pitch. And I honestly think Ryan Bertrand is one of those leaders when he's there.
Yeah, it literally for me it is a spin of a coin of who plays, to be honest. But it also comes down to, I think, do you think Bertrand can play two games? Because the Palace game is no gimme.
No.
They've definitely
no game is for us at this point, is it?
Yeah, but they've definitely improved, and that can be quite an intimidating atmosphere as well. So I would agree more with you if we were playing a back 4. I think because you've got that extra insurance almost of a back 3 that I think you can get away with, Thomas, and that's. I don't mean that in a detrimental way, but either way you could go on that way. I wouldn't necessarily argue against you. I would,
but you have. But no, this is your team,
I wouldn't go against you strongly enough. If I had only one change to make, it wouldn't necessarily be that one.
If I insisted on putting Bertrand there, it wouldn't be the end of the world for you.
No, I won't stop off.
Talking about being the end of the world. A news fascinating. The latest score is Luton 5, Coventry 0. What a shame!
I did see that earlier. Yeah, I did see the goal 5-0.
What a shame! I guess the game's probably over now, but it says latest on here. But 5-0. Whoa! Right, and are we going to disagree on the right back here? Because for me, I've got to go for Castagna because I think he's had the better of the performances when he's been in over Pereira.
No, I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think particularly as we're talking about, I think particularly as we're talking about keeping it tight, I think Castagna's probably got a little more security. I think he understands that role a little bit more and his defensive positioning a little bit more than Pereira at the moment. I was a bit disappointed with Pereira against Burnley that he got himself caught up the pitch 2 or 3 times and didn't seem to be switched on to the danger. And I don't think, if you're looking to keep it tight, I don't think you can do that. So I would go with Castagna as well.
Yep. No, I agree totally. I think, he was caught out of position quite a few times, which was strange for him because, there's so many players that haven't quite got back to what we know they're capable of when they've been out with injury.
I'm going to say it's, I I mean, I also liked what Castagna came out and said in the press after the Burnley game. You know, he was quite critical of, you know, he didn't name names, but he was quite critical of the team's performance, and accepted that it wasn't good enough in the fact the number of chances that were giving up. So, you know, that I think that did him a world of good as well.
Yeah. Good evening to Luca. How the devil are you, sir? Arsenal fan, welcome along. When is Ricardo Pereira back in light training? As far as I know, he's in light training now. I think he's in the squad, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
David says, "Don't you think Pereira maybe had a bad? Don't you think Pereira maybe had a bad game versus Burnley? To be fair, to date this season, he really has been brilliant. Or he could still be rehabbing after that slight injury he had. For me, he's just not reached the heights that he was before.
Yeah.
Allard Madison, Alla Barnes took a bit longer.
I think he's definitely shown signs this season. I think this was probably his worst game, so I think it's a fair point. But I think that's also probably part of managing him back and not giving him too many games. It could have been that was just one game too many for him.
Yeah.
But I don't think you could say that Castagna didn't play well when he came on. So
exactly.
I think
I like Castagna this season.
Yeah,
I think
it's just managing the number of games.
Yeah,
I think you can't on the way back from injury. I don't think you can play Pereira all the time.
No, I mean, I was about to say exactly the same thing. You know, I think whoever starts in this game, it'll probably be the other one that starts.
Yeah.
On Sunday, and we've got this big squad now. We can't keep picking the same players over and over and over again, you know. Right, so we're going to go 3 in the middle. Now let's go for that centre midfield position there, which of course normally would be a given, because it would be Yes Indeedy, but we can't put Mr. Indeedy in now. Who do we go for?
It shows what a stupid thing it was for him to do, to be honest.
Yes, indeed.
This middle three is tricky, and I'm leaning more towards what I think Brendan will do than necessarily what we might do. So, in the middle spot, I think we'd put Samari.
I thought you were going to go for Chowdhury then.
No.
Samari, I agree. I don't think he's done what's asked of him when he's come on, and I think that I agree. I'm liking what I'm seeing with Samari. What do you think that we ever get to the point where we can play Samari and Ndidi together?
Well, he did at the weekend.
That's very true, actually. That is a good point. But did it work?
Well, I think so. I think Samari probably just sort of, again, I think he's still getting used to the pace of the game, that it's relentless. There's not sort of lulls like there are sometimes in some of the foreign leagues. So he's getting to the pace of the game. But I like what I see of him so far. I think he just, a bit like, I'm not going to say he's definitely performed better, but when... I can't remember his name there. The guy who came from the Swiss league. No, the Swiss midfield player who never got to grips with the pace of the game, and the same with Adrian Silva as well, who never really got to grips with the pace of the game. I think it's more encouraging what I've seen from Samari so far. So I think he'd do a job in there.
I'm thinking I know who you mean, and I can't remember his name has gone. Somebody in the chat, I am sure, with Google to hand will come up with that.
He started the season that we won the league and then lost his place to Kante, basically.
That's going to drive me mad. That is, please, somebody find that out and stick it in the chat. Right, now this is going to get very interesting.
Yeah.
On the left and the right.
Let's start with the left.
An interchangeable role. So on the left, do you know what? I'm worried. I really am worried that he is going to pick Perez if we're looking at what he will do. So if you're going to pick Perez on the right, then I've probably got to go for this one on the left. but I probably would do anyway. I would put Dewsbury Hall in there.
I don't see a Leicester City team this season starting a game of any importance without Tielemans.
But I personally would put him on the right.
I can understand that. I think, and I wouldn't argue against you. I think it will be Tielemans and Perez.
Okay. I mean, I was watching, bless him, earlier, Kieran Dewsbury Hall. My God, if he plays with the confidence that he talks, then we have got a star on our hands. But by God, he not big himself up because he was asked the question, "What can you bring to the team?" And he reeled off a lot of things, and then the same question was asked by somebody else of Lookman, and Lookman struggled. And then Dan, who was hosting it, said, "Oh, it's always difficult to critique yourself and big yourself up."
Yeah.
To which Matt Elliott said, "I don't know, Kieran Dewsbury all managed to do it." So, yeah, I've got to go with you there. Unfortunately, and where is? Oh, he's there. He's there at the bottom. And it does pay me to do this, but I think we've agreed it's going to be Perez, haven't we?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, the last game he played, I mean, he scored, didn't he? He's,
yeah.
You know, and in European games, I think they're more suited to him in finding pockets of space.
Possibly, yeah.
I think Dewsbury Hall's got a great chance of playing against Palace, to be honest, because I think we need to match the energy that they've got in there. I've got to say, because I'm not doing the Palace preview.
Yeah.
One of the players that's impressed me most this season so far, and exactly the type of player that we don't have, has been Conor Gallagher. Gok and Indler, brilliant. Thanks, Scott.
Yes. Well done, Scott.
Yeah, Conor Gallagher at Palace for me has been one of the players of the season so far. That kid, on loan from Chelsea, he was at West Brom last season, does not stop running, and he's constantly looking to break forward and support. He does all his work. He's the sort of player that we haven't got for me, that midfielder who really wants to get forward. Lookman's probably the closest thing to him, but I really like Conor Gallagher. So I think, you know, Dewsbury Hall may get his chance against Palace.
I think he just is. Well, from what I've seen of him, you know, he a bit like Lookman. You know, when he gets the ball, he's only got one thing on his mind, and that's running forward. Goklan Inler, by God, that was. I felt again. You have to feel bad for these players sometimes, don't you? Because they're thinking, "Oh, coming over to the Premier League, we're going to be big," and it just doesn't work out for some players, does it?
No, to be honest, you know, he was disappointed because he looked like he could be a player, but he never got to the pace of the game. And as you say, we just sort of feel sorry for him on his 50 grand a week.
There is that to it, and of course, not being all for canteen and drink water, you got to look at that. I think, I'll have a long holiday and come back at the end of the season, you know, and bless him. Now, this is going to be. We are going to, I think, completely disagree on this.
I've got in my mind who I'm playing in these two spots, so
and I've got in my mind. I've got in my mind who I am playing in these two slots as well, and one of us is right and one of us is wrong. But I think what we could both agree on is that had he got the right paperwork, that Inacho would have been playing.
Yeah, I think we'd agree on that.
Yeah. So, and either or, whichever side, but I think one of them for me, and I'll fill it in for me. Then you can always tell me to keep my players off. I'm going to put Daka.
No, I'm going to leave that.
I think he's got the experience in Europe, and again, this might be a game that's more suited to him, perhaps at the moment in his career at Leicester, than a Premiership game against the likes of Palace. Now, bearing in the fact that Jamie Vardy likes a goal against Palace, we all know that, don't we? And he likes a celebration as well. And you've got a choice here because you've got Vardy. Scott says here Craig will have Barnes and Lookman. Well, that's wrong straight away because he's agreed with me with Daka. I'm thinking who will be playing at the weekend. For me, again, you know, if Vardy plays in this, I don't know if he'll play against Palace because there are, like we've said, there's too many games, isn't there? So for me, I would go with, and it did all right in this way on Saturday, Daka and Lookman.
I would agree. I think.
Good
I know.
God. Good God, man!
I think what
this
you've got
invasion of the body snatchers.
Yeah. Well, I think what you've got there, you know, historically, particularly East European teams, they're very physical, big, strong. They like to have someone to mark. For me, what you've got there in those two, you've got one who's looking to go in behind. You've got another one who's looking to come short, get the ball and turn and run at them. So Lookman, for me, likes dropping off, getting the ball into feet, turning and running. And then you've got Daka who wants to go the other way. So I think between the two of them, I think that will cause some problems and give our midfielders options of looking short or going in behind. So I think a pair of them could work well.
I think so. And it was said again, Dan, the host on LCFC TV, he was saying, and I think it was I don't know, it was a comment you made, but every time Lookman gets the ball, he's looking to go forward.
Yeah.
And it gets the crowd up and it gets the crowd going. And, you know, I think Daka's, a similar sort of player. I think those two paired together, I think you've got the four, and maybe that's going to be Lookman's role more than out on the wing that we thought he was going to come in for. But I think, you know, Daka, Lookman, Vardy, and Acho, and we know we like two up front. Brendan obviously doesn't, but I think that's a couple of good forward lines there.
Well, it is. I mean, and you know, you could make an argument for, like we've spoken a few times, for us looking more along the Liverpool lines of looking at like a 4-3-3. The three that he played against Burnley wasn't bad, to be fair. Where you've got Ndidi, Samari, and Tielemans as a little triangle. And then you've got three, which means you can have Vardy in the middle and Barnes and Lookman pulling in from either wing. So I think he's got options there, as we said before. Iheanacho deserves a shot as well. So at the minute, what you've got to say is, and I know very early on in the season you were a little bit critical of Vardy and saying that he probably needed to be dropped. You know, he's responded really well. He's sitting as the top scorer in the league at the minute. So I think he's responded.
It just shows two things. A, he watches this programme, and B, along with the fact that I said Palace and Brighton would be two of the favourites to go down this season, it just shows I know nothing about football whatsoever.
But that's what you want. You bring good players in. You want it to boost the people who have got the shirt and make them want to earn it and keep it.
It just shows you could never write Jamie Vardy off, of course.
No.
You know.
He's a legend.
But he is. Mate, thank you so much for coming on.
You're welcome.
And Scott has said here, would it not be beneficial to use Perez as a second striker with Daka? David actually agrees with him. For me, I just can't get out of my head. I'd have Perez purely as my God. We need another body on. Everybody else has broken their legs. Get him on.
For me, if you were going to do that, I would take Perez out and have another more standardised midfielder rather than having Perez instead of Lookman. For me, I think it's the right thing. I think it is a striker paired with Daka who's prepared to drop in the hole. So you could say it's Perez instead of Lookman. I think they are similar players. I just think Lookman's got a little bit more about him at the moment and looks a bit more assertive when he gets the ball.
Scott has just said here, Chris, can you say on air Vardy won't score a hat-trick against Palace? I remember I was the man that when we watched Milan-Liverpool in the Champions League final with my son at half-time, I turned to him, and he was just a wee nipper at the time, and went, that's it, Liverpool have lost this now. And when it came to Shevchenko to take the penalty at the end, I'd put my mortgage on him scoring. So, like I say, from then on, my punditry, and this is why my punditry level has come down to YouTube. But no, I think that's a good team. Craig, you stood in at the last minute. I really do appreciate that.
No worries.
Let's hope. Are you? Oh, I was about to say, are you going? But of course, we're playing away, so you're not. Are you going to Palace on Saturday?
No, I'm not. Unfortunately, I've been there. I went there when the year we won the league and saw us win 1-0 with the Mahrez goal, and it's a tough place to get to. But no, I'm not. I'm otherwise engaged.
No, well, I knew you were down that neck of the woods, so I didn't know.
Yeah, I was, but I couldn't get there. Unfortunately, I couldn't get there.
No, never mind. Well, I will be there for seeing you, because the week after that we've got the excitement of the international break, and I will be seeing you, subject to it being a Friday night again. Oh no, you can do that. The quiz. We've got a Brighton fan coming on to do the quiz. So let's see if he is as good as his football team are on the pitch. Thank you very much, Terry. Thank you for that. We'll let Craig go because it's way past his bedtime. Thank you so much, Craig. Take care of yourself and stay safe in London, mate.
I will do. Thanks, Chris. Thanks, everyone.
All the best. Goodbye. Thanks to Craig for popping on there. It is tomorrow night, 5:45. Don't forget, it's an early one. It's Europa League.
Europa League with Chris on Leicester Till I Die TV. Please press those buttons on YouTube for more Leicester City content.
That is what was the European preview show. I can say great thanks to Craig on that. So we're going to be back tomorrow. It's going to be around the 8:30 time because it's a 5:45 kickoff. So don't forget to get home early from work and get watching. And then we'll be back on Friday. Brad's joining me for the preview because Craig is dropping down to London for a weekend. So stay safe, mate. And then, of course, we've got the match on Sunday. Thanks so much for joining in. If you want to catch this up, as Scott has just said, please smash those likes, get over onto YouTube, subscribe to the channel, and smash the likes on YouTube because that does help me. And I'm in talks with YouTube at the moment, so please do that. And don't forget as well that if you prefer to listen to us, in about 10 minutes, this will be up live on podcast form on all the old normal podcasts that we do, that they do, that you can listen to, whichever one. Search Leicester Till I Die, Google, Amazon, Apple iTunes, Anchor, Spotify, and Podcast Addict, to name but 6. And we will see you, Jimmy, tomorrow night, and hopefully we're going to be talking with Josh about 3 points won. Thanks very much, guys. Stay safe. Take care. Bye-bye.
Hello, Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all them social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
But the fun doesn't have to stop here. If you have any questions, suggestions or feedback, head over right now to Twitter and Facebook and like, share and get involved. Join us next time.